Is cancel culture a mob mentality or public accountability? This is Common Sense Explains. Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. I am Lorena Taboas. Anyone who follows pop culture has been bombarded with the latest chapter of the feud between Hailey Bieber and Selena Gomez. The internet rallied around Selena Gomez, making her the most followed woman on Instagram after supposedly being made fun of by Hailey Bieber and Kylie Jenner, both of whom have now lost millions of followers on social media and have been effectively canceled. Let's connect with Daniel Vargas Campos, Education Program Manager at Common Sense Education, to talk about how cancel culture spreads online and affects kids and teens. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Lorena. Thank you for having me.
Of course, you're welcome. Great to have you. So let's talk about cancel culture. Are there any benefits to this?
When we talk about cancel culture, we actually kind of need to take a step back and really think about internet culture. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because it adds a little bit of necessary context to this conversation. And so when we talk about internet culture, we need to talk about social media, right? So one of the things that's unique about the world that we live in is that with access to social media, a lot of regular people have the opportunity to reach audiences at a speed and a scale that's unprecedented. So this is the context where cancel culture happens. And when we think about the origins of cancel culture emerged as a phenomenon where people from marginalized groups, like people of color, women, people from the LGBTQ community, leverage social media to call attention to systemic issues. So that's kind of like the origins of cancel culture. And so on the positive side, the benefits of cancel culture and its origins was that it was a practice for marginalized people to call attention to these big issues that then has led to some impactful movements like Black Lives Matter, as well as the Me Too movement.
But like with most things in life, there's pros and cons to everything. So what are the drawbacks of cancel culture?
So while cancel culture was originally meant to call awareness to systemic issues around justice, now the same call for awareness, the same leveraging of online audiences is being used for things that are totally unrelated to social justice and things like, celebrity gossip, which is why we end up with a situation like the Hailey Bieber versus Selena Gomez feud. And, we call this an example of cancel culture.
Because it has been so polarizing, Common Sense Education developed a lesson plan for teachers to help them teach students about cancel culture. Why was it so important for us as an organization to do that?
One of the big issues is that we don't know how to define it. Different people have different definitions for what cancel culture is. So on one level, we can't agree on what is actually happening with digital life. And this is a problem because it kind of hides deeper issues that are happening with people and just online interactions. And I think that, this feud, celebrity feud, is as a prime example of this, where you actually have two people having an interpersonal conflict, and we're calling that cancel culture. So because there's this confusion around what cancel culture means, we found the need to really interview students to learn more about how they're seeing cancel culture in their life, what they experience it as, and how they define it. And so it's a way for us to kind of meet students where they're at in a way that allows us to address the very specific issues that they're facing.
So like you mentioned, the way cancel culture is being used today is kind of a relatively new concept, but how did it all start? Let me explain. According to Vox, the phrase cancel culture has long circulated within Black culture. The term was first heard in Nile Rodgers' 1981 single, Your Love Is Cancelled. The concept of canceling a person came 10 years later in the film New Jack City. It was used for years before finally emerging online in 2014 after an episode of Love and Hip Hop New York. Over the past several years, cancel culture has increasingly spread in the country's political discourse. And in September 2020, Pew Research Center asked Americans to share what they think the term means. The most common responses focused on accountability. Some described it as a form of censorship, while others said cancel culture is mean-spirited attacks used to cause harm to other people. So as we know, this isn't just happening with celebrities or even brands, it's happening within schools. What impact do you think cancel culture has had on what really just used to be like social rejection among peers?
When we were doing research around the issues that young people are facing, we found a few very interesting things. One of the findings of our research is that Gen Z is actually very civically engaged, which is inspirational to us because they want to be a part and they want to create change in the world. And so we were inspired to sort of create resources around civic engagement. And when we tried to interview them, or when we surveyed young people about the issues that they were concerned about, cancel culture was one of the top 3 issues. And we dug deeper, we interviewed teens, and what they told us is that their experience of cancel culture is really an experience of interpersonal conflict. That's how young people live cancel culture. And it's sort of like this fear of knowing that you could go viral online at any point, and that any little fight or disagreement that you may have with a friend, if it happens online or if it gets recorded and then posted online, that then things could just totally snowball out of control. And so that's kind of like the impact that we've seen, is how the reach of social media just makes this tension or creates this tension in young people's lives about, the fear of, being judged or going viral and then receiving lots of hate and judgment from people that but also people that you might not even know.
So with that being said, how do you think kids and teens can learn to use social media as that positive tool instead of as a weapon?
I think it requires a lot of self-awareness. And so self-awareness on 2 fronts. One, really the ability to think and understand why you post. Like, is the purpose of what you're posting, are you using things like Instagram stories as just a release, like a diary, a way for you to vent? So like being able to identify the purpose for which you're using your social media, but also being aware of the impact of the things that you do online. So knowing or having that awareness of, if I post or if I vent on social media, having the ability to think about who is the audience that's going to see this, and how are they going to engage with this sentiment. Are they if I, let's say, vent about a friend saying something to me or ditching me when we had plans together, are other people going to start taking sides? Like, are other people going to start thinking the other person is flaky? So like having that awareness of, how what you post impacts you but others is really important for young people.
Thanks so much, Daniel, for walking us through all that. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to our education newsletter for tips and resources for educators. You can find that link in our episode description. Until next time.